Okay, stop. Before you scroll past this, the WHO just declared a global emergency. Right now, May 2026, an Ebola strain is spreading, and the vaccine we spent decades building doesn't work against this one. And before you think this is some ancient, faraway problem, an American healthcare worker just got infected, had to be evacuated to Germany. So yeah, this is happening. And to understand why it keeps happening, we have to go all the way back to 1976, back to a tiny village in the jungle that most people have never heard of. I'm serious, look at this place. Yambuku, Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo. 1,100 kilometers from the nearest major city. A Catholic mission running a school and a small hospital, deep in one of the biggest rainforests on the planet. And in August 1976, something invisible arrived. A school teacher, a man named Mabalo Lokela, starts feeling off. Fever, headache, nothing crazy. He goes to the mission hospital, gets a routine injection, vitamins, standard stuff, and he goes home. Except something else came with that injection, something nobody on Earth had ever seen before. Within weeks, that virus killed 88% of everyone it touched. And nobody knew what it was. Hey, drop a comment right now. Did you know Ebola has been around since 1976? Or did you think this all started with the 2014 outbreak? I genuinely want to know what you knew going in, because this story is about to completely rewire your brain. Okay, so geography lesson. But I promise this is the interesting kind. The DRC is the second largest country in Africa. It contains one of the biggest rainforests on the planet, and at the center of it, like the deep, inaccessible center, are these small communities living right up against the jungle. Now, the Yambuku Mission Hospital was doing prenatal clinics. Good work, right? But here's the thing. They had exactly 5 syringes for all their patients. And every single day, they were reusing those syringes without proper sterilization. Not because they were reckless, because they had almost nothing to work with. This is what I mean when I say this isn't a story about evil. It's a story about bad luck colliding with bad infrastructure, colliding with something nobody had ever seen before. The needles didn't create the virus, but they created the engine that turned a single infection into a catastrophe. And that distinction really matters. So the needles spread it locally, fast, within the community, then the hospital staff. Belgian nuns who ran the hospital started getting sick, then dying. Panicked telegrams were sent to the capital, Kinshasa. Kinshasa sent word to the CDC in Atlanta, to the Institute of Tropical Medicine in Antwerp, Belgium. Blood samples were packed in ice and flown across the world. And when those samples landed in a lab, here's where it gets fascinating. Because what the scientists saw under the electron microscope wasn't something they recognized. It looked like Marburg, a known hemorrhagic fever. But it wasn't. It was shaped differently, longer, more sinister somehow. And that 27-year-old Belgian researcher who first saw it, Peter Piot, later said his immediate reaction was basically dread. Okay, 3-minute mark. This is normally where people bail on a video. Don't, because I'm about to tell you something about the name Ebola that you will repeat at every dinner party for the rest of your life. Ready? The virus is named after the wrong river. Here's how it happened. After the CDC confirmed this was a totally new virus, and it was Carl Johnson, Patricia Webb, James Lang, and Frederick Murphy at the CDC who get the official discovery credit, they needed a name. Johnson had a method. He'd named other viruses after rivers near their outbreaks. Machupo virus, same deal. Meanwhile, Peter Piot and a team flew into Zaire to actually investigate the outbreak on the ground. And this is important because a lot of articles accidentally give Piot full discovery credit. He didn't discover it in the lab. He helped contain it in the field. Different but equally heroic thing. So Carl Johnson grabs a map of northern Zaire. He's looking for a river near Yambuku to name this thing after. He's exhausted. They all are. They're running on coffee and adrenaline and pure scientific necessity. And he finds a river that looks kind of close-ish and has a nice, distinctive name. Ebola. Done. That's it. That's the whole story. 111 kilometers away from the actual outbreak site. Peter Piot himself, decades later, essentially acknowledged it was an arbitrary, exhausted choice. They picked a river that looked roughly nearby, had a cool name, and now one of the most feared viruses in history is permanently named after a river that has almost nothing to do with where it was found. That is incredible. The name stuck. It always will. And now we arrive at the question that scientists have been obsessing over for 50 years and still haven't fully answered. Where does Ebola actually live between outbreaks? Because it doesn't just disappear, it goes somewhere, it hides. And the prime suspect is something most people would never guess. Bats. The answer is almost certainly bats. Specifically, African fruit bats, the Pteropodidae family. Some species have wingspans close to a meter. They live in enormous colonies inside hollow trees and caves deep in the Congo Basin. And here's the thing that makes them uniquely terrifying. They don't get sick. They just carry it, silently, possibly forever. So here's the spillover mechanism. The bat is infected, feels totally fine, drops some partially eaten fruit or defecates near it. A chimp picks it up, or a forest antelope, or a human who's out there hunting bushmeat. That person butchers the animal without protective gear. Boom, the virus has a new host. Except this new host, unlike the bat, has an immune system completely unprepared for what just happened. Now here's something really important that most news coverage gets wrong. Scientists have not definitively proven which specific bat species is the reservoir. They've found antibodies, meaning evidence of past exposure, in multiple fruit bat species. But they haven't actually isolated live, replicating Ebola virus from a wild bat in a way that conclusively fingers one species. The hunt is still very much on. What we do know is that deforestation makes spillover more likely. As humans push deeper into previously untouched jungle, logging, mining, agricultural expansion, they get closer and closer to the animals that carry these viruses. It's not mysterious, it's math. More contact equals more chances for the virus to find a door. And to show you exactly how that works in the real world, I need to tell you about a 2-year-old boy in a small village on December 26, 2013. Because what happened to him, through absolutely no fault of his own, started the deadliest Ebola outbreak in human history. His name was Emile Ouamouno. He was 2 years old. And on December 26, 2013, he fell ill. Fever, black stools, vomiting. He died on December 28th. Researchers later confirmed that Emile and the village children had been playing inside and around a large hollow tree near their homes. That tree was home to a colony of Mops condylurus bats, a species linked to Ebola exposure in research studies. From that single moment, a chain of transmission began that would infect over 28,000 people across Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, killing more than 11,000. The virus traveled from village to clinic to city to airport. By the time the world mobilized a real response, Ebola was already in 3 countries. And then a man got on a plane to Lagos, Nigeria, and then Dallas, and then the world panicked. Look at that chart. Every Ebola outbreak in history on one screen, and then 2014 just rockets off the scale. Every other outbreak combined doesn't come close. This is what happens when a virus that normally burns itself out in remote areas gets into urban centers with international airports. It's a completely different equation. But, and this is the part that matters, the 2014 outbreak also gave us something we'd never had before. Proof that we could make a vaccine. The RVSV Zabav vaccine, brand name Ervebo, was tested during the DRC 2018 outbreak using what's called ring vaccination. You vaccinate all the close contacts of infected people, creating a protective ring around the outbreak. Effectiveness? Basically 100%. FDA approved in December 2019. For the first time ever, humanity had a weapon. So we had a vaccine, we were ready, and then, here's the twist. Ebola isn't one virus, it's a family. There's Zaire, the most famous, the most deadly, the one we made the vaccine for. There's Sudan, there's Thai forest, there's Reston, which weirdly doesn't kill humans. And there's one more, one that most people have never heard of. And that one has no approved vaccine. Bundibugyo Ebola virus, first discovered in November 2007 in Bundibugyo district, western Uganda. Scientists had never seen it before. CDC analyzed the samples, found it genetically distinct from every known Ebola virus species, a completely new branch of the family. Case fatality rate, somewhere between 30 and 50%. And, I cannot stress this enough, no vaccine, no approved specific treatment. There was a second, smaller Bundibugyo outbreak in the DRC in 2012. 15 cases, 10 deaths, linked to bushmeat. And then, it went quiet. Scientists knew it was out there. They knew it was dangerous. They knew it had no vaccine. And the world mostly moved on. Funding for Bundibugyo-specific vaccine development didn't surge the way it needed to, because that's how global health works, reactively. May 5th, 2026, the WHO receives an alert. High mortality outbreak of unknown illness, Mongboalu Health Zone, Ituri Province, northeastern DRC. Health workers getting sick, communities seeing clusters of deaths. And here's the kicker. The initial tests came back negative, not because there was no Ebola, but because the standard diagnostic kits weren't screening for Bundibugyo. The rare ones slipped right through the net. By May 15th, out of 13 samples tested with the right protocols, 8 came back positive. Bundibugyo virus disease, confirmed. The DRC declared its 17th Ebola outbreak. The very next day, Uganda confirmed an imported case, a Congolese national who'd traveled to Kampala. Then a second Ugandan case, no link between them. The virus was spreading independently. And on May 17, 2026, the WHO declared a public health emergency of international concern. As of this video, there are 744 suspected cases, 83 confirmed, and at least 176 suspected deaths across 4 provinces in DRC and into Uganda. An American healthcare worker has been infected and evacuated to Germany for treatment. And the vaccine that exists, Ervebo, protects against Zaire strain, not Bundibugyo. The one thing we had doesn't work here. And here's where it gets political. When the Trump administration cut USAID funding in early 2025, several of the surveillance systems that should have detected this outbreak earlier were weakened or dismantled. 6 insiders told Stat News. Oxfam said the cuts left DRC effectively blind to the emerging threat. Experts believe weeks of early detection time were lost, weeks the virus doesn't wait for. To its credit, the US government, on the same day the WHO declared the emergency, announced enhanced travel screening at American airports and State Department funding for up to 50 clinics to assist the DRC response. Better late than never, but health experts noted those clinics would take weeks to implement. Weeks. The virus moves in hours. But here's where it gets genuinely hopeful. Because we've been down this road before, a new strain, no vaccine, outbreak on two fronts, and we stopped it. In January 2025, Uganda declared a Sudan Ebola virus outbreak, a different species, also no licensed vaccine. WHO launched a ring vaccination trial 4 days later using an experimental IAVI vaccine candidate that was already pre-positioned in Uganda. That outbreak was declared over on April 26, 2025. 14 total cases, 4 deaths. 4 deaths is still 4 too many, but compare that to 2014. This is what early detection plus experimental response looks like when the infrastructure exists. The 2025 Uganda-Sudan outbreak is one of the most underreported public health victories of the decade. For Bundibugyo specifically, CEPI, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, has identified it as a priority pathogen requiring dedicated vaccine development. There are experimental candidates in development. Ring vaccination is already being deployed with the Zaire vaccine to protect against that strain among contacts, while other interventions are mobilized. The scientific infrastructure built through decades of Ebola response is now running full speed. Here's the big picture truth. Ebola has emerged in the DRC 17 times since 1976. 17. And every single time, it has been stopped. Not because it burned itself out, but because people showed up. Nurses, contact tracers, community health workers, virologists, logistics coordinators, people who walked into the fire so that everyone else didn't have to. So here's what Ebola actually is, stripped all the way down. It's a virus that was always there, living in bats in the jungle, doing its thing, completely indifferent to humanity. It found us because we got closer. It spread because our systems were fragile. It kills because our immune systems aren't prepared. And it gets stopped because humans, imperfect, under-resourced, often underfunded humans, refuse to let it win. Ebola is named after the wrong river. Its reservoir hasn't been definitively caught. A toddler playing near a tree started the deadliest outbreak in history. And right now, today, the 17th outbreak is happening, and scientists are racing to stop it. If this one hit different, subscribe. The next video is already in production, and if you want to go deep on the 2014 West Africa outbreak, the politics, the failures, the extraordinary heroes, that video is right there. Stay curious. Don't touch wild bats. I'll see you in the next one.